Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Indianapolis-based trumpeter and composer Sam Butler. He opened up about his 2023 CD Folklore. It's his highly anticipated debut as a leader, featuring alto saxophonist Greg Ward out on May 5th via Shifting Paradigm Records. Originally from the Alabama Gulf Coast, he now finds himself fully in the Indianapolis jazz scene. He has a great story. Enjoy. Well, hey, man, it's great to meet you. And before we get into your life and get into folklore, I want to know, the pandemic really worked on all of us in its own way, especially the jazz community. I'm curious, how did you survive the pandemic, and how has it changed the way that you approach things now?
Yeah, man, it was a really interesting time for me. It was different than a lot of people because I was still in school, and I'm actually still in school now. But I was still doing my undergrad degree at Indiana University, and went home for a couple of months and had a lot of time to think in my room about what it was that what I was doing. I was like at the end of my sophomore year, so I was still pretty young. Like, didn't really have a whole lot of perspective on everything, but thankfully we were able to do mostly in-person classes in like the fall of 2020 and 21. So I still got to be kind of in a community of people, still got to get out of the house a little bit and still have some experiences. But it was really weird. I mean, we had these crazy, classes where sitting 15 feet apart. There was an element of that almost made it even weirder than if I were to just be sitting at home all the time. But it was a time of reflection, a time of thinking ahead, which is not something I had done a ton of up until that point. And I had a lot of time to kind of reflect on, my musical journey up until that point. What I wanted to do going forward, not knowing if the landscape was going to change drastically or anything like that. But here we are now. Things seem to be coming back a little bit. So.
And with that being said, you got an album, a brand new album that's out. And, I think that's the whole point of right now that's beautiful from my perspective, is that the world's opening up. So what does it feel like to have a new album, Folklore, and really getting after it again?
It feels great. I mean, I have done one little EP before that was just kind of actually like an actual pandemic project. Where a couple of us got together every week and played some music. But this is kind of the expanded version of that, and it's kind of the first big thing that I've done. And it feels really good to kind of come out of this turbulent time with a project, dedicated to all this original music that I wrote, playing it with some incredible musicians. And it just feels really good to kind of have something finished to kind of hold on to and hopefully share with everybody.
What are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
That's something that I'm still figuring out. I mean, it was made with a lot of love and dedication on my part and the part of everybody that was involved in making the music happen. I think just to take the whole idea of folklore is that it's about the sounds that kind of make you who you are. And a lot of these songs and these like melodies and harmonies that I was hearing are stuff that kind of spoke to me over the last couple of years. And I think I want everybody to kind of feel at home when they're listening to it, something that can make them feel very happy, very at peace with the world. That's kind of a big theme for the album for me, because folklore is all about kind of what you grew up with, the things that make your community and your culture, make them unique. And so I wanted to put as much of that into my music as possible.
So you're originally from the Alabama Gulf Coast. You're in Indianapolis right now. Talk to me a little bit about the beginnings and the way that jazz got into your bloodstream, influences, and how it all began for you.
It was really interesting. I grew up in a very musical household, but I was not surrounded by people playing music immediately. I come from like my dad's side of the family is incredibly musical. All of them play in some capacity. My dad was a trumpet player all the way through college. Both my grandparents on my dad's side are both still working jazz musicians, even at their age. and they're incredible. And then my aunt as well is a working jazz musician now, has played with some pretty heavy people. So it was always kind of like a part of my life, but they never pushed me to play jazz music. In fact, I just started playing trumpet in sixth grade, I guess kind of like a lot of normal elementary school kids. And then I kind of found my way to jazz through them. I mean, it was always on in the household. Like I was the weird kid because I thought Miles Davis was like the most popular thing for kids my age. And I was like, it was strange to me, like they didn't know who Chet Baker was. And I was over here getting like 8 years old, like singing along. But I never thought it was something that I could do until I started doing it in middle school. And from there, it just kind of took off. I was involved in a lot of things. I was doing sports. But kind of in high school, there was a defining moment where I got accepted into like a national honor band kind of thing. Something that I just applied for on a whim. I went there and it was like the most incredible experience that I've ever had. And it just convinced me that this was what I wanted to do going forward. So
What was the very first live jazz show that you saw that really made an impact, made an impression on you?
I think it would have been a show that I saw at Preservation Hall in New Orleans. I grew up a mere like probably 2 hours, hour and a half on a good day from New Orleans. The first show that I saw was Leroy Jones, a great trumpet player from New Orleans, who kind of like led a whole revival of the brass band scene there back in the 70s. And my dad had shown me his records at a young age, and there's so much joy in his playing. I got the chance to go see him and meet him afterwards and talk trumpet. I may have been like, oh man, I might have been like 13 or something like that. And it was just the coolest thing in the world to hear somebody on a record and then actually go hear them play. I think I had heard a little bit of jazz before then, but maybe nothing on that level. That was definitely a life-changing moment there for me.
So for someone that's pursued a career in jazz as long as you have, you're here, you've arrived, there's all of these angles and aspects from recording and playing live that go into it. I'm curious, what is it every day when you wake up that you like the best about being a professional musician?
Man, that's a great question. I think I have two top answers. I think number one is getting to make music with other people. That's definitely a part of the pandemic that hit really close to home. Was, jazz is such a social music. It's not meant to be played in a box, by yourself, 100% of the time, like we were doing. And I think just there's the twofold answer is getting to play music with other people and then getting to play music for people. Going through school, I'm just now kind of getting into this whole band leading phase or having my own gigs and really getting to like perform for people, start to make these outside relationships, especially with people that are not musicians. And, just the goal to bring joy to these people purely out of the sounds I make out of my instrument. It's just a bunch of wiggly air basically. And yet some people love it so much. And so I think I wake up every day grateful for the opportunity to bring some entertainment, some love into people's lives. I think that's the part that speaks to me the most.
What was the moment that you felt like of having this dream of being a musician where maybe it was a stage, maybe it was something else? What was the moment where you were like, man, I'm here, this feels right. It makes sense that this is the path I've chosen in my life.
Yeah, I think there was a moment in high school that I mentioned earlier with this National Honor Band, and it was called the Jazz Band of America, and it was in Indianapolis. Funnily enough, that's where I ended up a couple of years later for school. But that was the first time that I ever interacted with other people my age that like really, really got it and felt the love and the passion for the music the way that I did. And I grew up in a town that didn't have a lot of love and or need or want for jazz music, and it's part of my goal to kind of maybe try and bring that back. But that was the first time that I felt truly like empowered around everyone to be a part of the music. I may have been 16. I was starting to think about what I wanted to do, and at the time I was also like a very big like competitive junior golfer. And it was getting to the time where I needed to make a decision about something was going to have to go because I couldn't keep doing both. And this experience of just making music with other people, that was the moment where I was like, this is real. I know what I want to do. And then basically everything since then has just been validation of that. I did not know what to expect with what college music school would offer, and it has opened my world up in many ways, out of what my childhood and my high school experience was, and everything since then has just been a validation of what I want to do going forward.
So why do you love this art form we call jazz?
I love the creativity, and I love playing music with everyone, creating something, being spontaneous. I love trying to get the band to play something, and if the crowd makes a sound after it, that means that it was good. And I just am like in constant search of that moment. I guess I love it because it feels like a very cathartic form of art. It's hard to put some feelings into words, and it's sometimes easier to let those out through the music. And I mean, it's such a historical piece of music that is built out of so much turmoil, and to hopefully carry that torch forward and be a part of a generation of musicians, to continue that. It feels like a blessing to be a part of something that feels so historically important. And so I just want to make that happen every day, and bring as much joy to everybody as I can.
Wow, well said, man. So let's say we get off the phone, a jazz DeLorean pulls up in front of your house. You can punch in the digits and go anywhere back in time and see anybody in the history of jazz. Where are you going? Who are you going to see?
Anybody in the history of jazz. I'll exclude people that are still alive, because I hope to hear everybody that I love at some
Yeah,
point.
sure.
Let me think. Being so entrenched here in the Indianapolis scene, I think my mind immediately goes to maybe hearing Freddie play. He just had such a force, of playing the trumpet. One of the most technically brilliant players, and so creative. I think I would have loved the opportunity to hear him play at some point. You know, kind of transplanting here in Indianapolis, knowing all that, I think that would be really special.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, everyone around you. But you ultimately live your life. You have a perception of who you are. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh man, that's really introspective. Let me think. Let's see. I think that I am somebody that has a lot of love in their heart and wants to share that with everybody as much as I can. The world is full of a lot of darkness, a lot of, people that would serve to see other people be torn down all the time. People that don't basically, want to stand in the way of everybody having a good and easy and joyful life. And I've been blessed to be surrounded by some amazing people in my life. I have so much love for my family and my friends that I feel inspired to, as much as I can, make everybody feel happy. I think everybody has a different role on the earth, and especially in the music. And so I hope to fulfill the role that is hopefully a very positive beacon for people to look at, just trying to instill the positivity everywhere. I think that's my perspective on myself, I think.
So, Sam, if anyone out there wants to pick up folklore, they want to learn more about you, live shows, anything pertaining to your world, where is the best place for them to go?
Well, I think the best place to go to find some information is probably my website, which is sambutlermusic.com. And that has all the information about upcoming shows. I see we're recording this on April 21st or something like that. I've got some shows coming up to celebrate the release of this first album, and it's kind of my first time taking my band out and around the Midwest playing some shows. So I hope to be able to see some people out. We're playing in Detroit and Chicago and Indianapolis as well, and I think, yeah, you can find all the information you want about me on my website, sambutlermusic.com. You can pre-order the Folklore album on Bandcamp. It's out on Shifting Paradigm Records, and super thankful to them for having me on. But I think pretty much everything it could be found on my website. I might have to go check.
Yeah, man. Hey, Sam Butler, thank you for opening up. This has been great. I love the words, the story, the music. Best of luck with everything, with the release and the live shows, man.
Thank you so much, Joe. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Indianapolis, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Sam for his time, energy, and cool. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us at Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.